Officer Harry Dunn was testifying before Congress this morning, and he had a lot to say, including the clear racial element in the mob that attacked the Capitol. Let's take a look.
I told them to just leave the Capitol, and in response they yelled, "No, man, this is our house. President Trump invited us here. We're here to stop the steal. Joe Biden is not the president. Nobody voted for Joe Biden. I'm a law enforcement officer, and I do my best to keep politics out of my job. But in this circumstance, I responded, well, I voted for Joe Biden. Does my vote not count? Am I no?
Yeah, sort of understandably.
Yeah.
Jason?
One, I'm glad that C-SPAN allowed for that officer to say verbatim what happened to him without bleeping him, without him being preempted, without any kind of editing, because that is the country we are living in, right? That's real. Those filthy people thought they had that they could disrespect someone who has given their life to protect and serve at all costs, right? And he said, beyond. I mean, I've been called the N-word a lot in my life, so to me, it's like that's all you got. That's the best you can do. I mean, just don't call me ugly. Call me whatever you want. Just don't call me ugly. That's a fight. But
oh my God.
For him to say, in all my years on the force in uniform, I've never been called that. And this was someone who also had his physical life in jeopardy. But listening to the intonation and the tone, him being called that word pierced him to his soul. You could just tell by the way he is present in what happened, revisiting, being re-traumatized yet again about what happened on January 6th. So I'm glad that mainstream media outlet didn't mince words. They said this is the good, the bad, not even the good. This is the bad, the ugly, the very ugly, and the Medusa ugly of all of this.
Exactly.
And for those that are watching, because we have a huge audience here. Not everyone is a hater or a troll, but for those that are watching that are still saying that racism doesn't exist, that the MAGA people they're not racist. They just believe in capitalism and all these things. There's your proof from the horse's mouth, from a stable of horses. Racism is alive and well in the United States, folks. Racism is alive and well on the right.
Yeah, and look, it's clear that they're not just racist. They're perfectly willing to murder white cops too, but they're definitely racist. I don't like, there's not a lot of people in the MAGA crowd that's like, it disheartens me that these people, these brothers in arms politically, sometimes say things that are racially insensitive. I wish that we would evolve in that way. That's not going on at these marches and these crowds, unfortunately. And so I agree with Jason, totally right. Like that C-SPAN not censoring it is so important for people to understand how raw, how ugly it is, especially, and we'll see if they end up seeing it, but those who've gone through more than 6 months of stuff like this from Tucker Carlson. There's no evidence that white supremacists were responsible for what happened on January 6th. That's a lie. Month after month after month, broadcast after broadcast after broadcast to millions of viewers denying that there was any racial angle to any of it, despite the shirts, the pro-Holocaust shirts and things like that. Yeah, there's just nothing. It's just people who disagree a little bit or whatever, and they're probably Antifa anyway. No, we know who they were. We know what they came to do, and Harry Dunn was a very important part of people getting that message. The power of what Harry Dunn said, his ability to make the case, is the reason that Tucker Carlson launched the preemptive war against him. And that war, bet every dollar you have, will continue later on tonight. And we're gonna see just how ugly the counter strike against Harry Dunn is going to be later tonight on Fox.
And how could, I understand a job's a job. Tucker Carlson, it's paid millions of dollars. He's a very prominent face of Fox News. But as a journalist, as someone your job is to report the news factually, and to have, we love sources like a Harry Dunn that we can go to, who was boots on the ground, experienced exactly what happened on January 6th, and can get their firsthand account. That's great for news outlets because that's what we want. We want to report the news, and that is news. So for Tucker Carlson to go on national TV and to ignore that, if Tucker Carlson was worth his salt as a journalist, he would invite Harry Dunn on and have a dialogue with that person, with Harry Dunn on air, versus wasting time, looking like an idiot, acting like this hasn't happened. That to me is good journalism. That to me, I mean, I don't watch Fox News. I mean, Tucker Carlson's neither here nor there for me. I prefer Megyn Kelly on Fox News, but she's now, I don't know what Megyn Kelly's doing these days. She's
a podcast, I think.
Right, she was YouTube, now she's a podcaster. Wow, fall from grace. But
not far enough.
Not far enough, yeah. But shout out to podcasters, but not Megyn Kelly. But Tucker Carlson, I mean, as a journalist, you need to, instead of trying to be a puppet for your employer, which I guess he has to be, why don't you do the right thing and do the right thing? You know? Yeah. So I'm excited to see what they say tonight too.
We'll see. I could be wrong. Maybe he wants to bring Harry Dunn on so he can attack him. I sort of doubt it though. He doesn't. He brings on people who will help him to make the case that will push for what he wants politically. We saw, who's the economist from Denmark years ago? If you come on and you disagree with him, if you being there doesn't help him advance the narrative, you don't come back on. That's not what happens. So Harry Dunn is not going to back down from Tucker Carlson's attacks. And I think Tucker Carlson gets that. So I doubt that any invitation has been offered. I could be wrong, we'll see, but I sort of doubt it.
I doubt it too. You know, Fox News, what was their slogan? I'm not sure it's that anymore. Fair and balanced news, anything but fair and balanced.
100%.
Joke.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.